Good morning, everyone. My name's Hank Setala,
And I'm Dr. K.
and we're here with an episode of Holistic Highlights. So wonderful that you're all joining us. Sorry we missed last week with the summer a couple of times, but we're going to be either having to pre-record or just have to miss a week. But we appreciate your indulgence, and today we're talking about an amazing topic.
I think you'll have lots to contribute. I think this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, and so it's prosperity, wealth, and I forgot the other thing. Wait,
Was it what love's part of that? Health, wealth, health,
health,
wealth, and prosperity
health, wealth, and prosperity. Of
and
course, health.
love.
That totally forgot the health part of it. Let me put that up in the background. Actually, we already have some people checking in. Good morning, Magic Mike. Always good to see you. And our resident comedian Mark. We know it's
Good
going to be
morning,
a
Mark.
fun episode when Mark joins because he has so many. Really, he's jokingly, but he helps to drive the conversation in different directions. So we certainly appreciate everyone's contributions. And if you're joining us for the first time, the way that this works is as we go through, please ask your questions, make your comments, and your contribution actually helps drive the conversation where it can go, and that creates a lot more possibilities than if it's just us talking to each other. Not that we don't like
Yeah.
talking to each other.
We do. Yeah, and if you guys have, things that you want to know about, this is a really juicy, loaded topic. But if there's things you want to know about health-wise, energy-wise, this is something we both handle. So Hank and I are happy to entertain any ideas. Please feel free to just throw a comment like, hey, can you touch on this? I'm curious about this. That helps us definitely come up with more ideas and what people need. So
Yeah. And we'll talk about it a little bit more towards the end, but I'm going to post a link now in case you can't stay until the end of the stream. We're going to be doing a little healing clinic. I'll post a link now and we'll talk a little bit more about it towards the end of our stream or whatnot. But where would you like to start with health, wealth, and prosperity?
Well, I think we need to start with saying the basic line, as we both know, all the above, the health, wealth, prosperity, and love are all energies. It's all still just streaming down to the funnel of energy. So if your health is off, your prosperity may be off. If your prosperity is off, your health may be off, your wealth may be off. Everything they ride on each other as a, not a triangle, because there's more than that in the triangle, but these are all energies, right, Hank? So we can it all still funnels down to that basic principle of energy that a lot of folks just aren't aware of. So Hank and I are really always here just to bring more awareness, to open up the mind and go, oh, I had no idea that this is like all related. And it is all related. It is all related. So if one is off, the other one is likely off. So if we just kind of correct some things, a lot of things start to correct in your whole system. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think health is kind of like the all these things, the feeling of wealth and the prosperity and all these things, it all rolls up under to well-being, and it's all very similar energies because with one thing's off, it affects everything else because we're so symbiotic in that way of how things interrelate. Even with that regards to energy centers, the organs themselves. If one organ's off, the other organs can be off. So everything really kind of builds together. So you have to look at a holistic approach, which is what we have been really talking about since we started doing these streams. Is how can you go about things overall so that you're bringing the whole body and being uh, to higher and higher places, I guess is the best way
Yeah.
to say it.
And that's, I think, that the concept that a lot of people don't don't even have a clue about, that all of it can be improved, but it's really coming down to the basics, because all of these things are so interconnected that people don't even conceptualize that. And I'm in my office today, everybody, so you get to see the background. That's somebody to see
She's
this
wearing
morning,
even
and I'm
wearing
like,
her
oh,
lab coat.
I'm
Yeah,
even wearing my white coat today. I'm giving everybody white coat syndrome.
yeah. People might see that and be like, "We're not tuning into
Oh,
this
yeah, we're
person."
not
No.
stressful. Um, so there's what was popping in, and I just lost it. But really, there's laws of the universe that are constantly running, no matter what's going on, no matter if there's the pandemic or not. There's laws in the universe. Nature just keeps going. It doesn't care that there's a virus. It doesn't care that
Yep.
there's human trafficking. There's So we need to kind of really rise above that, and you can still have wealth, health, and prosperity and love and all these things despite what's going on, right? So
And I
you were
think
going to
Magic,
say something.
no, just letting you know you should wear your white coat more often. He says it looks good.
Well, thanks, Mike. I'll be sure to scare everybody a little
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
give everybody some stress.
But what I think where the thing I would want to mention as we start with this is point of view creates your reality. And a lot of times, things that are imprinted in us from a very young age, we don't even recognize that they're there. And sometimes we might consciously be looking to create things in our life, and we feel like we're hitting this roadblock because the whole time there's this energy block from when we were a kid. And I'll give everybody an example they can probably relate to. You have to work hard to get ahead. And what if
Thank
you're
you.
and what if you're lazy? What if you're lazy and you don't want to work hard, but really all of life can come to you with ease, joy, and glory? So what if what's keeping everything in place is just this little itty bitty belief from way back when you were a kid
Mhm.
and you don't even consciously remember it?
Yeah, that's a great one. And thanks for bringing that up because guys, I'll be completely transparent and completely vulnerable today. That is something that was drilled in my head since I've been very little. And, my father had a long history of growing up in Europe during a time of war and all those sorts of things where you hung on to money. And when you hang on, you constrict your field, you constrict everything around
It's
you.
energy of scarcity.
Yeah, and it works its way in, and this is how they're interconnected. So, gosh, what perfect timing that you bring that up because we're going to work on that, Hank. Because that is the one piece I'll be completely vulnerable. I was taught, you're lazy. Why are you just laying in bed? It's, you need to get up. You need to go to church. So this is something that I've carried in my life that I need to be working hard all the time. I mean, Fridays are my day off, and here I'm like, no, I have to see somebody because I got to work hard. And you really don't. We are all divine beings, and this is something that it's a little woo, maybe a little out there, but we all have God in us, and we are all deserving of all these things. So there's a lot of, I think, a very simple principle. We don't deserve health, we don't deserve wealth, we don't deserve prosperity, we don't deserve love. This is a very underlying, sneaky little thing that we're not even aware of. And if we don't, yeah, go ahead.
Oh
I'll let
no,
you go.
oh, that's from major religions a lot of times because of original sin, and now all humanity must be punished for all time because of
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not here to, if you're Christian, if you're, Baptist, we're not here to change your point of view at all. This is all encompassing. What we do is all encompassing. It really is. So I want everybody to feel safe with that. We're not here to transition your religion or poo poo you or make something wrong. Um, but these are sneaky things because I actually did, I don't know if I said that in a previous video, but I had a client who I'm working with now who I can totally see where the issue is with health. And it's very fascinating. Her husband came in and said, um, I said, we're not designed to be sick. We are not. We are born in this world and we are not designed to be sick. And her husband said, um, yes, but we've sinned. I'm like, oh, so you're going to continue living your life because you feel you need to you need to be punished. And the way we're going to punish, the way God feel in their perspective, it was, well, if I'm sick, this is my punishment for my sins and it will rectify me. I guess that's the message I got from
Yeah.
that. I was like,
Well, two things. One, if you want to dive deeper into undoing all that type of stuff, there's a great book by Neil Donald Walsh called Communion with God, where it talks about 10 illusions. And that could be a whole
oh,
separate broadcast in and of itself. But the second thing is, and I think I mentioned this on other streams, is the word sin. It was originally an archery term.
missing the
and
mark.
and missing the mark. So when you're looking at, oh, I have sinned, the only person that can determine if you have missed the mark is you, because you're the one directing your life and where you're going. And it's a judgment from outside where, oh, that person sinned. You don't know what their soul path is, and you don't know if they've missed a mark or not. So nobody can judge anybody else because only you know where you were going.
Right.
Yeah.
And people are at different levels of awareness in today's day. You're going to meet people like us that are looking outside of the box, that are a little more awakened. There's probably people even above us are even more awakened. You're going to meet people that are really all into the masks and just that's all they see. But I think people like Hank and I are individuals like Hank and I are here to awaken and try to open up different channels so you can hopefully see a little differently. And when you're able to do that, your whole life will change. Your whole life will change. So these are all tidbits of trying to help all of you to get to another standard and another level of awareness. And so life can change.
And
So,
Mark had a comment, and this resonates with something I saw in a cartoon once, where he says, "My life motto is any man can work. It takes a smart one not to." There was an old cartoon called DuckTales, where Scrooge McDuck had fuel this steamboat in order to win the race, and instead of like shoveling the coal, he made a bicycle that, as he pedaled, would just shovel the coal automatically out of the pile. And he said, "Work smarter, not harder." And that's
mhm,
just another testament of things don't have to be hard. There are if when you recognize how the universe works, that point of view creates your reality, and that energy flows where your attention goes, and you start to focus on the things that bring ease and lightness into your life. That's what gets created without any other effort. The other place where we get tied up is if we condition the universe, meaning, "Hey, universe, I would love abundance, but the only way that I'm willing to receive it is through a raise in my paycheck." And now all of a sudden you handcuff the universe because it has an infinite number of ways to bring you abundance, but the only way you're willing to receive it is this one little way. And it will happen, but the universe might have to line up a 5 year thing to get you to be forced to get laid off, so then you can look for the job that gave you the pay raise.
yeah, and that's the tricky piece, guys. So I think a big takeaway line that you can write for yourself is look at now what you have in your universe now that you're already super abundant. Be grateful for what you have now and look at the abundance you have now and the wealth you have now. Even if it's a dollar in your pocket, it's still a dollar, you know? Um, Focus on that so you can bring more, because when you focus on the goodness that you have in your life now, instead of being in lack of, I want this, I want this, I want this, you're not focusing on what you have now. When you focus on the goodness that you have now, as tricky as that may sound, you're going to be able to bring in more a whole lot faster.
And one thing too, there's two truths that are in opposition, and they're both true. One is a duality truth, and one is the an absolute truth. And depending where you're functioning from, manifestation and actualization can work a little funky. So let me give you an example. If you're working from a duality and you are feeling as though you are separate from everyone, and you're looking to actualize the perfect mate, the universe will create first the opposite, because you have to have the opposite in order to know that which you're looking to create. So the duality truth is opposites attract. Knowing this, if you can really come from where Dr. K was saying from, and focus on what am I already grateful for, in the absolute sense where you're one with the universe, like attracts like, and whatever energy you put out is the energy that comes back. And both are in operation at the same time. And you can be really good at actualizing things from a one-ality perspective in one area of your life and still be stuck in the duality perspective in the other area. And if you're in the duality one, the trick is when the opposite shows up, you tell the universe, "Great, the opposite showed up. That means I'm on the right track. Now I have the opposite of my life, so I can know experientially that which I'm choosing to create." And you reaffirm your creation, and then it comes to you. So you create both ways, but sometimes that's why the law of attraction, some people say it doesn't work, is because whatever
Mm-hmm.
they were working on, they were in the duality, not the one
Yep.
mindset.
There's the whole law of polarity. So there's I think there's many books on the laws of the universe. There's seven main ones, and maybe we'll do a little, I don't know if I want to do that. That's a whole actual course, but
Well, there's a
there's
whole, we can make a whole actual course. That could be a separate thing.
I
So
think we should do that. If you work with the laws of the universe, you will gain health, wealth, prosperity, and love. Hands down. You have to know how to work with the laws. And most people have no idea how to work with the laws of the universe. They are always functioning. So I think it's the law of polarity. What exists now, the opposite of it exists. So if you're tired, if you're sick right now, know that true health, joy, wealth, and prosperity and energy exists. So it's like if you wake up and you're like, I'm really tired. I really feel horrible today. Then on the other side, what exists is I feel amazing today. I feel full of vitality. When you say that to yourself, that already starts to get your thought process going to the law of polarity to the other side and knowing that the other part of that exists. So we just have to get that in. It's what everything we want is already in existence. I know that's tricky. It's kind of like, but Dr. K, it's not under my chair. It's not in my house. Nobody came to my door and dropped off $10 million. No, there's going to be a little bit of work, and you have to kind of put your mindset there first. So what you think of in your head already exists. Everything we want already exists. You just have to pull it in. You have to know how to call money in. You have to know how to call wealth in. You have to know how to call love in. So how do you do that? The way to do that is be what you want to attract. And this is where the law of attraction gets tricky. People read the law of attraction book, it's not happening. Well, you have to be the frequency and the energy of what you want, as tricky as that may be. So you start focusing on, hey, okay, I may not have a $10 million in my bank account, but I don't know, I have 100. So thank you for the $100. And all the time, just keep thinking that, and you'll be able to draw more in. If you're not feeling well, if your health is not optimum, what is working right? What is working? Can you walk? Did you get in your car? Did you get up? Thank you that I was able to get up today and get in my car. Okay, maybe I was a little fatigued. Don't focus on that part, because it's always the wanting of, we're focusing on what we want, and that's lack. Focus on what you do have, because you do have a lot. We have a lot. We have a lot of abundance all around us all the time. We just don't pay attention to it, and we think differently. Yes, energy flows where your attention
Yep,
goes.
basic principle of the universe. And I also want to
Write
bring up,
that down.
and Doug was contributing. First, he said that this sounds like a dangerous topic. I think we'll be okay though. But that, and we're already alluding to this, that the best wealth in the world has nothing to do with money. And again, that's going back to the example. If the only way you're willing to receive the thing they call abundance or prosperity is through a paycheck, you're handcuffing the universe in all the infinite ways that it could bring it to it. And then based
Yep.
on your just a comment you made now, and that's why, Adriana, I am always so damn positive, because that's what I want around me.
Exactly. It's a little more work than that, because positive thoughts, if your frequency doesn't match the positive thoughts, then sometimes that's a little tricky. This is where we're doing that energy clinic to clean up some of that
Yep.
energy that's inside you so it all aligns and then it works like magic.
Right. And we're so empathic that a lot of times the things that are clogging you up are things that you absorbed or took on from other people, places,
Hmm.
or things. And that
Hmm.
stuff can be easily cleared. And
Yeah.
then once you're cleared, if you are really awake and aware, and as things come in, be like, that's not mine, you're not taking it on anymore. So it's like
Yeah.
emptying the reservoir where you're not just, floundering about, I guess, with the energies that are coming in, and can really stand in your own choice and respond to the universe instead of react. Because when we're
Yeah.
so filled up with other people's gunk, we start reacting through life, and we just add fuel to the
More
fire.
gunk.
Yeah.
And when your field around you isn't clean and clear, then do you have a picture of an aura? I should have like pulled that up
Um,
so that people get a visual understanding. I'm a
I
very
think
visual person.
in one of the other studios, I think I have one. Oh, we don't
I
want midnight
Yeah, I'm tossing
meetings.
that on your, hey, hey, find a picture of an aura. But the
Well,
field around you,
I think I can get one in a second, though.
yeah, if it's cloudy, you're not you're going to have a more challenging time bringing in your health, wealth, prosperity. So it's sometimes like we're thinking positive thoughts. Maybe we wake up in the morning and we think a positive thought, but by afternoon we're cursing somebody, we're criticizing
Oh,
somebody.
I
um,
found an aura picture. I just put it on behind us instead of in front of us.
uh,
This is the one
somebody
that from a previous show that I did, where there was an aura photo before and after a tuning fork session. So this kind of shows a little bit of what an aura looks like from the Krywiak photography that is available to capture it. And I can probably find and get something pretty quick that is more of a illustrated version of that.
Yeah, I had one, but I have it on my, probably on my phone. I don't know if I can pull it
Yep.
up. But basically, yeah, if your field around you is dirty because people have what I called emotionally vomited on you, or you've been around difficult situations, that energy needs to be cleared. So it's a dual process. You can be thinking a lot of positive things, but if your field around you or your internal frequency is stressed, that kind of mucks. It's kind of like the windshield. Like you're in a picture yourself in a car. If your windshield is all muddy, then yeah, you're thinking and you're knowing you're going to some place, but it's going to be longer for you and a little more challenging for you to get through the thickness of it, because there's dirt on your windshield, versus if it's nice and clean, you can see your path ahead and you go. These things are, they're a little out there, but they are an energetic thing, and it really works. So I had a little line. Yeah,
Yep.
and you diminish your prosperity when you complain, whine, or criticize self or others. This is part of the laws, and this is a big one. You diminish your prosperity or your health. This works for your health as well. and your love. There's a picture of an aura. Yeah. So there's like this field we have around us, and we can take pictures, even pictures of that now. If people are needing proof, we can we can actually take a picture before and after healings to see how you look. But you diminish your prosperity when you complain, whine, or criticize self or others. This is a really important piece. This will keep away your health. It will keep away your prosperity. It will keep away love. So some people, we talk and people put up a vision board in the morning or they meditate, and by mid-afternoon, they're bitching at their coworker. That's you've already changed your frequency. So this is something, I was always under the impression of like, oh, I'll just get a couple sessions done. I'm going to be good. And it's a permanent change. Yes, to a degree, but it's funny when we solve one level, another level of the game comes. It's a tricky thing. So I'm finding it's cleaning yourself and keeping your field clean and working on self is a constant process until we leave this planet. And even then, onward, even beyond that, it's a constant process. It's a daily process. And this is why sometimes people do healings and all sorts of things, but then, they get Reiki done. They're like, I'm good. I'm good for a month or two. And then like, but it's back because you kind of still have to do some homework. It's like brushing your teeth every day. If you could do a self-healing daily, it's like brushing your teeth. You'll be more clear and more aligned.
Absolutely. I forgot what I was going to say now.
This has been, I'm like,
Oh,
my downloads are coming and then they go away. I'm like,
uh, no, I was going to talk about the aura, and just to give a context for that, in the South American tradition I practice, the Paco Cuna tradition of Peru, we call the aura the popbo, and think of it like a bubble. And the way that I would describe it is, if God is all there is, and you use that analogy of the ocean, that we're all of the ocean and we're just but a drop, the aura is the water balloon that holds your essence of divinity separate from everything else. And the more you work on yourself, like when you refine that water, and you work on that, you're just your energy field and how it presents itself into the world shifts. So if you think of it that way, like the aura is really how you're separate, even though we're all one. And that's all another one of those paradoxes. All the greatest truths are paradoxes because one is a oneality truth and one is a duality. So we're all one and we're all separate. Both are true.
and that's a very tricky thing for the brain to wrap around. It's like, but wait, but Hank, you're over there, you're a separate person. It's like that's collective consciousness is for a lot of people, unless you've studied this for a really long time, it's initially it may be an interesting topic to get your brain to wrap around. Like, how are we all one thing? How are we all connected? Well, we are, because think of it this way, we all came from the same place. I think it's maybe the best way my brain kind of conceptualizes it. If we all came from that same essence and we're all going to go back to that essence, and we're all going to go back to that same place we came from. This is just a physical body. This is just a physical experience. um,
Well, Mary Lee had a great analogy too, and we use this in AA. For those of you who don't know, I've been sober like 12 years, and they always say you got to clean house, meaning that your inner self, the inner workings of you got to clear it out. You declutter the things that aren't working for you. You start choosing different to have a different possibility.
and sometimes you need some help with that. Sometimes you know when somebody else looks at things, they can pick things up. When we're in our own game, we don't see things as clearly because we're in it. That just makes sense. We don't always see as clearly what our thing is that may need to be resolved. So that's an important piece too. But being what you want to attract. So if you have some nuances in there, you're going to attract whatever is within you. So your external world will be matching up to what's going on internally with you. So if you're always complaining about your health and this and that, you are going to attract more experiences that match that frequency. And I know that's a tricky topic, but
And sometimes it's a progression of mindset. So instead of saying like, if you have diabetes, I have diabetes, say, I'm an infinite being that is having the experience of diabetes, which can be changed. Or I know that's really wordy, but the idea is not to identify with whatever it is that you're looking to change, because then you're embracing it more. Like I
exactly.
have this, like we do that all the time. So like, what could I be and do to have a different possibility? And now you're identifying the energy that's going to lead you out of it. Because what could I be and do? What can I be? And then how can I express that beingness through doing that's going to shift this experience and give me something as a different possibility? And that's where we start looking at the physical body, the mental, the emotional, all the different components, and starting to declutter, like Mary Lee said.
Yeah. And so um, we all have stuff that we learned as a child. So actually, up to the age of 7, um, our brains are pretty much functioning on a subconscious level. We're like a sponge. We just absorb, absorb, absorb. If our parents tell us life has to be hard, that's what we believe. If our parents tell us life really sucks, that's what we start to. We don't process from age up to the age of 7. Our brains just don't we don't filter those sorts of things like, oh, that's not right. That makes no sense. We just, oh, okay, all right. And then those, as Hank said initially when we started, those things then start to play out. Whatever we hear, whatever we visualize in that age period, we absorb, and then those play out as programs as we go forward
Yep.
in
In,
life.
in Access, we use this analogy of a bubble pipe. Have you ever seen those like little bubble pipes where it has like 5 different chambers, and as you blow on them, it has all these bubbles come out? So, like the things from childhood, they're fueling all these little bubbles of experience in your life, and you think it's a problem. So, you pop a bubble, you fix that problem, and another one fills in. You pop a bubble, and another one fills in. Going back to that root cause and eliminating it stops the flow of energy, and then all the bubbles just fall apart.
Exactly.
So it's getting back, and you don't even necessarily have to identify the exact thing that happened. It's more about identifying the energy. And once you identify the energy and can shift it, you don't even have to know what was said to you. You might not ever have a conscious memory of it. But if you're identify, especially Westerners, we have this idea that we gotta know what we're letting go of. We gotta, identify it before we can let it go. But in other cultures, it's very easy. Oh, this is the energy holding me up. I'm just going to choose different, and it's that easy to shift if you're willing to shift it.
And yeah, and that relates to the topics above here. It's all stemming from there. So maybe I use a certain process to start unwinding the mind. Hank has his processes. It's all still funneling down to energy and what resonates with people. So we talked about the Paramedes process. That is one process that I use to start identifying and going down the tunnel and releasing that energy. And Hank has processes too to release that energy.
Yeah, and if you go back on the video archives, there's a whole episode where she walks me through that process of going through that, and you can get a little bit of a better sense of it there. And then that's one of the things we'll probably be offering in the healing clinic. Everybody's
Yeah.
different, so we can't say that we're going to work with every single person the same way, because as intuitive healers, like one person might be a completely different set of tools than another person, but they're all they're all designed to get to the energy and start identify it, shift it, and move into something different.
Yeah, maybe post the link. You're going to post the link at
I,
some point.
I'm
Yeah.
looking for the link now. Yeah.
I have it. I can send it to you if you need. But yeah, guys, schedule because it's not going to be a full hour. Typically I work with people for an hour because it's like the tip of the iceberg when we just start opening things up. I'm like, oh, this is where the roots are. And then we clean things out. So this is going to be, a 15-minute cleanup, but you'll still leave feeling so much better. This stuff works magic for a lot of people. And it's really, really helpful to unwind these things that are keeping you locked up and not being able to get to your next level. May you require more work? Yes. And maybe we'll do more of these, clinics, maybe once a month, for those that kind of need, and maybe, we're talking about wealth, so I don't want to go into lack, but that's not the point. We want you to have more wealth. And in order to get there, you have to take some steps. Do some steps have to be taken? Yes. Does that mean you have to work hard? No. And sometimes also be aware that the universe will give you, if you ask for $10,000, the universe isn't always just going to send some guy with a bag to show up on your doorstep with, you know, a, a duffel bag with $10,000 bills in it. It doesn't always appear that way. Sometimes you do have to go through the process, and sometimes the the individual or the soul may need to get a few things out of the way before you get to that point. So just be patient and keep asking, and don't let up. Because a lot of people give up. It's like, well, I asked for it. It's a week. I haven't gotten it. It's divine timing. And I know for me, that's really frustrating. I'm like, but wait, I've been asking for a month. It does arrive, and you can get it to arrive faster if your energy and mindset and your energy is clearer. And that's what we're doing at the clinic, to clean you up so
Yep.
these things can arrive for you faster.
And I posted the link in comments. There's 3 places we're streaming that it won't let me post comments to. So I did put it on the screen. You can pause it and just type that into your web browser. That will take you to that Prometheus process that we're referring to. And since we're talking about the clinic, I posted that link at the very beginning. But if you go to the Holistic Health and Healing Facebook page, it's under the events section. And all it is in the evening, like little 15 to 20-minute sessions that Dr. K and I will each work with a person for like 7.5 minutes or so and then switch. So it's like a real quick I think that's how we'll do it. We might change by remind me
We'll
by
have to
that.
figure that out.
Yeah, but either way, ooh, my chair just did something weird. But either way,
Hank's falling off.
yeah, I'm falling down. I have this ottoman that I'm using, and it just like the little tray thing just decided to shift out from underneath me. Oh,
That would have been funny if you completed. Sorry.
that would have been just gone. It's better than getting booted out of the studio like that one day, though. So that I'd rather just shift out.
That brings up a funny story. I was in residency, in Akron General Hospital. I remember, and we're in a surgical, when we're doing surgery, everything's sterile. You can't touch anything. And sometimes it's a 4 or 5 hour surgery. And I was not an ottoman, but one of those rolling stools. And I had to get up to look over something because I couldn't see. And then I sat back down and my butt fell flat on the floor, but my hands are up here. I'm like, but I'm still sterile. I haven't touched anything. I'm still good. I'm like, that was embarrassing. That was really embarrassing.
Oh, that's great.
But you're so programmed not to touch anything with your hands aside from the body. That was really funny. Oh well.
And we have
Yes.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Mark had a question. He was asking, any suggestions on dealing with rude and annoying people that you must interact with?
We did that toxic people was it last time, last session?
Yeah, we had a whole episode on that. We're eventually going to have episodes on everything, and then we'll have to repeat topics. But
that is tricky. That is definitely a tricky one. The more of the processes that we do in clearing things, the better you're able to handle toxic people. It's challenging if you live with one. It's challenging if you're in a toxic relationship. I have mentors that don't believe in divorce. I have mentors that, I never propose staying in a toxic relationship. If you get really good at this, you can actually, it's all about energy mastery and mastering your own mind and mastering your own self. Because when you master yourself, these people won't faze you. That's a process. So the more we clean up your energy and change your mindset, and that really rolls in with the cleanup too, the better you're able to handle these people. Because internally, are you attracting these people too? That's the other question. Why are these people coming into your field? Because a lot of times there's a gift in everybody you see. As tricky as that is, that person may be trying to reflect to you, show you something that's going on internally within you. Or it's something in that person that you don't like that you have internally. So that's one piece. These people show up. When you do more of this energy work and we clear more of you out, those people fall out of your field. They'll lose their job. If it's a friend that's nagging you all the time, they kind of just stop calling you so you don't see them as much. Or the people actually change. We do have the ability, Wayne Dyer talks about this a lot, when you can find massive love within yourself and you can project that love onto other people, they actually start shifting. They actually start changing. It's really amazing. That takes a little bit of time. That's not an overnight process unless you are so mastered within yourself that you're able to do that quickly. And there are people that can do that. Everybody's at a different level. But for right now, what suggestions can we give them, Hank?
Well, one thing, this is
Quick
one thing I would
tips.
recommend. There is a whole energy process from Hawaii, and I'm going to mispronounce it, so I'll probably just put in a banner, or maybe I'll pronounce it better once it's up there. It's
The Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, that.
I've done that.
Yeah, but it is a practice where you basically look at the other person, and there's a series of affirmations that I don't remember, but it's like, I love you, I forgive you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. You can write
Right.
those down. Yeah.
Now, but the thing to it is when you're doing that, be in the mindset of the oneality when you're recognizing that there is divine and source within all of us. And
Mhm.
by recognizing that, when you're working with the other person, in a way you're working on yourself, because what if you're noticing it? Like, what in you is causing you to notice this thing that's annoying you? And it might even be the case that you have, I'll give an example. One of my clients, they hated when people gossiped, right? But they gossiped, and one time they gossiped and it actually got taken in by HR or whatever, and someone lost her job over something that she had said out of context or something like that. I
Mhm.
don't remember the specifics, but the annoyance that her judging other people, or seeing other people gossiping, was a reflection on her own wound that had not been healed. And so that was a mirror of something that, so ask yourself, when these people are annoying you, is there something within me that I'm noticing, that is causing me to notice this, that could use some work? And if you look at all the places where you get annoyed as an opportunity of, what soul work could I do based on the energy that this is bringing up, that then whatever process you want to deal with it with. But that would be the question to ask, is why am I noticing this? What in me could shift where this would no longer be an issue on my radar?
Yeah, and that's so rude people are, it's tricky because, that does take some internal work.
It
And I'm
is.
trying to think of something quick that you really breathing. And what I really try to do is find the good in the person, because there's always good in the person. As much as you, I don't
Oh,
want to use the word
namaste.
hate. Yeah,
You could
just,
just use the word namaste. May the God in me greet the God in thee for the highest good, and then walk away.
yeah, because remember, we were all born, we were not born, we as children are born with nothing but love. Maybe there's a few exceptions somewhere out there, but majority of children are born with love. We learn these processes, and if you can understand that a person learns this rudeness from some program, like we talked about, from something happened from age of on to 7, that something was learned, and now they've adopted this, and they have some wounds within. I always tell people they have some wounds with that person, has wounds within them that's causing them to be this way. And if you can start to see a person that way, like, I wonder what's hurting within them that they need to be like this and they need to be so rude. If
That's
you
a
can
great one.
try to approach it that way,
And Neil
back
Donald
up.
Walsh uses that one too. He would say, ask the person, what is in such pain within you that you feel you need to hurt me to heal it, or a question of that nature. And
Yeah,
it starts to shift the perspective that they are in fact wounded. And if you can go from a place of annoyance to compassion, that's a huge tool that's going to
that's
open up a space.
yep.
Because if
That
you're
is
being
exactly what
annoyed,
you need to do.
you're in the teke of the universe. You're in this energetic, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. You're functioning from duality. You shift to compassion, you create a different possibility, because you're not fighting against the energy anymore, nor are you embracing it. You're not like, have you ever seen people where they're arguing about who has it worse in life? Like, that's like almost, you're adding fuel to the fire and
Uh-huh.
entangling the duality more. In an allowance, you're just letting them be. Or if you're like disgusted by it, you're adding more energy into it. This place is really allowance and just letting them be. But then how can you shift how you're resonating with them or whatnot?
That is, I think, one of the biggest things, and that's how I started shifting things. When you can start to just take a deep breath, put your tongue to the roof of the mouth, take a deep breath in, and be like, if a person's loving, then they get it. But there's probably something so wounded in this person that they don't see it, they don't get it, and they need help to get untangled, but not everybody's ready yet. So it's kind of like you got to look at them and be like, wow, I wonder what's in this person that they feel they need to be so rude. Where at the bottom of this are they hurting? Because in this lifetime, we really want two things. We want love and we want respect. And somewhere that wasn't achieved, gotten understood in our childhood, and or something got adopted through the ways, and now we're running on those old programs because we get something from that. So if you can just get to the place of compassion and being like, Mark, be like, hey, this person's really, there's something going on with this person that they are really hurting, that they need to use anger or whatever it is that they're doing to to keep that things keeps coming up for them, and this is what they're using to try to gain a little bit of love and respect.
Yeah. And some people too, if you're not, if you find these energy tools that we're talking about to be difficult, like the other things you could do is like look at some physical representations of intention, things like crystals. Like, for negativity, you could use obsidian would be a great one. Tourmaline would be a great one. Smoky quartz, all are stones that are noted for the ability to absorb negativity. And that could be very helpful, especially if you're an empath that hasn't quite discovered how to be the hollow bone to let things flow through you instead of to you. Little things like that can be immensely helpful. And I think Dr. K even has some things on our website, or is that more for 5G frequencies?
That
But
was 5G. Yeah.
okay, well then maybe
But
that.
crystals are great.
Yeah.
I have a handful at home. Um, rose quartz is a great one to have. That really opens up your heart, and it
You know,
still
you
needs to be
could even get
cleaned.
a
But
little bag and keep a whole bunch of crystals in a little bag and keep it on you. And each crystal, it has its little program of what you're using it for. But don't just set it and forget it. If you are going to use tools like that, like in shamanism, we have all kinds of stones that we work with. Once a month, I open up my mesa cloth and I sit with each stone for each thing that it's representing. So that in the times where I'm not on my game and I'm off, I have these things that have these energetic anchors that bring me back to center. I can still do the work even if I'm really uncentered because of whatever's going on. And that's the purpose of these things: is you anchored the intention of the rose quartz for love or the tourmaline for protection or whatever else, that when you aren't in the place of responding, that gives you a little bit of a boost to get back to it.
we can put that on there. That might be a topic we can talk about, crystals and how they can help your health, mental status, and wealth. I guess part of that too. And make sure to clean your crystals because that's really important. Don't forget they are absorbing energy. So um, if they're not cleaned periodically, they can get too much,
Or
and then they can
cheat
forget.
like me. Citrine and selenite never need to be cleared. And
Exactly, yeah.
if you put them in the little bag and you say your job is to clear these and they don't need to clear, then you can. But it's still good.
You
But
can put it next to selenite.
but even with that, sometimes something comes. As much work as I've done, there are times where something comes out of the blue, and I have to take a step back and do things where normally I don't need to use crystals. But there's sometimes where like, well, now I do, because around this one area, I'm not in that one-ality mindset, and I need to use a lot of other tools just because of the space that I'm dealing with this issue. And I'll be using crystals and hoodoo magic and all kinds of fun stuff. Mike was asking. Well, first we got to give our comedian his plug here. Even though it doesn't agree with me, I found the good in chocolate milk. Good, Mark. He's always drinking something every session here. And,
Oh, what am I going to do with him?
and Magic Mike says, just because we are aware who does it belong to, is it my job to fix it? Mike is offering some tools from Access Consciousness that sometimes when we're aware of something, it's just an awareness, and it's not necessarily our job as a healer for everything we're aware of to dive in and try to fix things. An
I'm
awareness is
guilty
an
of that.
awareness.
I'm
Yeah,
so guilty. I just like want to help everybody.
and the question that I use there is, do I have a role in their play? Because I look at everything like the there's a musical called Into the Woods where all your childhood fairy tales are happening at the same time in the same forest, interacting with each other. And if you look at, everybody has their own story, the question then is becomes, do I have a role or not? And if not, then you just leave it be, and it's just an awareness. And then who does it belong to is a tool for the empath. If you're aware of something and it's not yours, it gives you the opportunity to not let it come into you. You can let it go back, and it takes practice for all these things. Like
It
you
does.
pick one tool and work with it for like a week to really anchor it, then move on to another tool. If you do something like that, you'll really build a repertoire of tools that work for you, and you've used them when you don't need them, so that when you do need them, they're at the ready.
Yeah, maybe one other episode you could put on the parking lot to maybe maybe do something streamlined where we give people some tools and we'll just number them and you can pick
Yeah.
one and work on that tool. And when you feel you're decent with it, move on to the next one because it can be really overwhelming. We throw out a lot of stuff in these sessions.
Yeah, and maybe some of the things that there's a need for, like if we do an episode where it's like, 10 things that you can do to really shift or to change your life, we can do the stream and we could build like a whole course around that if people are
Yeah,
interested. We'll make a 10-part series of diving deep into each tool
I
and
think that
things
would
like
be
that.
great. We can combine some tools. We can put that in the parking lot. That's probably something we'll
Yeah.
chat on
See, just
when
from this streaming, we have all these different possibilities coming up. What else is possible?
yeah, what else is possible? Um, so with health and wealth and prosperity, though, there's one thing in common. Who feels not enough? I don't have enough love. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough. My health is it's not enough. There's a lot of not enoughness, a lot in this world, and I'm guilty of it too. So how many ways do you believe you can't do something or you are not good enough? who can like really attest to that, because the not enoughness will bring more of not enoughness. And this is a really, really big key with these three headlines that we have. We're always looking for more, we're always in lack. You know, we are divine beings. We are all that, and deserving this, I don't deserve. We all deserve. And if we want to think about God and Jesus and all that, why would God not want you to have everything in this world? We push it away. We get in our own way with many different things and using the laws of the universe. This is one way. If we don't work with those laws, we work against them most of the time. We doubt, we fear, we get into not enoughness, we get into lack mentality. That will push things away, and that will create some nonsense. So really, you want to ask yourself, how many ways do you believe you can't do something, or that you are not good enough?
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
bringing this up because this is that book I recommended, Communion with God. This is the 10 illusions. We won't dive into them. This could be a whole stream if we want to do it. But everything really comes down to these illusions that make us believe that we're separate from everything else, when in reality, you're the only one in the room, and so am I. But I'll just read through them real quick. And the thing that goes along with each one: the illusion that God has an agenda, that need exists; the outcome of life is in doubt, that failure exists; you are separate from God, disunity exists; there is not enough, insufficiency exists, that which is what prompted me to bring this up from what you were just talking about.
mm-hmm,
There is something you have to do, requirement exists; if you do not do it, you will be punished, judgment
mm-hmm.
exists; the punishment is everlasting damnation, condemnation exists; love
That's
is
heavy.
therefore conditional, conditionality exists; knowing and meeting the condition renders you superior, superiority exists; and you do not know that these are illusions, that ignorance exists. And ignorance is really what holds it all together, because if you have to, it's a conscious choice on some level to not be aware of all these things so that we can have this individualized experience. And ignorance is what makes it happen. It's just like the Matrix movie, ignorance is bliss. He knows the stake is fake, but he has the awareness of it, but it's not undoing the illusion. These are
Mm-hmm.
illusions for the purpose of having experience. And when you recognize the illusions as illusions and use them for their intended purpose, it unlocks the door and the gateway for you to potently create and express whoever you choose to be in this realm. And that
These
should
are
be,
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll do a whole stream on
those are
this.
great. If you can start breaking out of your patterns, because these are patterns, those lines that Hank posted really are things that I grew up with for the longest time. And I will tell you, it took me years. I mean, gosh, when did that start to shift for me? I'm not going to say how old I am. But that took me, I can just tell you, it has only been within the past, I'd say, 6 to 7 years that I have really rid myself. No, don't want to say rid myself. There's still one in there that's still hanging on a bit, but open my eyes to some of those. The second that I understood, we are God, and that's a tricky piece to walk into a church with. But this is what we've been drilled. And are we that bright shining God in the sky? No, but we are a part of that. We have that essence within us. And if you want to put it as we are all God's children, why would he not want, he or she, whatever, the energy, why would they not want the best for us? That makes no sense. All those things Hank listed are conditions. God is unconditional love. We don't conceptualize that. It is unconditional love. Those are all conditions. So,
And the only thing that the energy does is thy will be done. Whatever you choose, whether it's to touch the hot stove or not, God is an allowance, or the sources of
mm,
allowance. In
yeah,
shamanism, with the left side of the mesa, we say is the raw, undomesticated power of the universe. That's source, and it doesn't care how it's used; it just wants to be used. And we put the judgments on what's right and what's wrong,
we
but it's
do.
just unlimited expression in an infinite number of ways. And what if all it really would take to have health, wealth, and prosperity is to shift to the space of
Yep,
choosing what's light and choosing
yep,
what brings ease? It all
yep.
comes down to choice, and start
And
choosing
yeah,
what's better.
and it's tricky sometimes because the brain can't quite, sometimes it can't go there really fast. So it does take a little bit of work, but this is the goal, is to start opening these things. So I want to talk about the law of praise. It's one of the laws of the universe, and we'll talk about that. But working against the law of praise, I have a little screenshot that I took. Blaming other people or the world, which there is so much of right now, that is going to push away your health. It's going to push away your wealth. It's going to push away your prosperity. um, Over potentializing energy to things going wrong. So over potentializing is another concept. When you want something so much, you focus on it so hard, you're squeezing the sponge. When you squeeze too hard, either in a good direction or bad, good or bad, but I don't want to use those terms. When you squeeze too much of wanting something, then you're going to push it away. Think about relationships. When you chase somebody, and we've done this as teenagers, you're constantly calling somebody, constantly calling your boyfriend, your girlfriend,
Like infatuation, it pushes it
they
further.
run away. The
Well, that
same thing with money. When you chase it and you squeeze it, it can't come.
and really good place to throw in. We had a whole episode on the power of words. Another, you have a lot of homework today. You got to go back and watch these last episodes if you haven't seen it. But the word want literally means to lack. Rich people want for nothing. Rich people lack for nothing. If you say I want money, energetically the universe, you're saying I lack money, and the universe says, okay, you lack money. Here's the experience of lack. What would it shift? What if you start shifting the word choice and the energy around it? It will have a whole different possibility.
So there's a lot of judgments around things, and God doesn't have judgment. There's just allowance. So that's the key concept. A lot of times people say, well, if God is so good, how come I don't have all this money? How come the world's falling apart? Because we choose these things. We're an allowance. So over potentializing is a really interesting concept that you can write down. Over potentializing is squeezing the sponge. When you put too much energy on the wrong of something, somebody's doing something wrong, or I don't have enough money. This really sucks. My life sucks. I don't have enough money. You keep over potentializing that, or you over potentialize of wanting something. And I'm guilty of this too. This space, like I was forcing it. I'm a very willful person. I use my ajna and I will things into existence, and that can get exhausting. So I'm working on that, but that's the way I've been doing my whole life. So I'm untraining myself a little bit, but I'm learning very quickly that when you desire something, whether it's health, wealth, prosperity, and you keep putting that intention out there and you just let go and allow, put it out there and let go. So all day think about, I desire this. What if my life was great? What if I had $1 million? And just let go. Especially with this space, I was squeezing so hard that I'm like, nope, all right, Adriana, pull back, let go. And then the process happens so much faster. The architect got his work done a whole lot faster. When you're constantly calling and squeezing and trying to accomplish something, you are over potentializing. You're putting too much energy on something and you're squeezing it to the point that it can't come as quickly.
We say, Zane, my teacher, has a great example for it. He says intention is like shooting a bow and arrow. You have the intention, you let it go, and you're done. That's the end of the intention. You're not sitting there moving your hand like this, going move, 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 move. You just move your hand. It's the bow and arrow, and
and
then
expect it to arrive. What do you desire? Are you expecting it, or you're like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not worthy. I'm not good. I don't think I can.
I would
You
just
do that kind of
allow
stuff.
it versus expect it. I don't like the word expectation, but
Okay.
no expectations. Anyway, that could be a whole separate thing.
We have different
We
words.
say in AA that expectations are resentments waiting to happen, because if you almost you can also put a limitation on something. If you have an expectation, that's how it shows up. So it's manifestation versus actualization. So just an allowance of that it will that
Just accepting that it's
yeah
going to come, I guess. Just know when you
yeah
put the intention out there, it may not come tomorrow. There may be a few things that need to get out of the way so that you can get to that destination. But don't give up and keep putting that intention out there and let go. Just let go. So another thing against working against the law of increase and law of praise are really the same thing. So praising people, praise. So when somebody around you, how many people are jealous of the people that are around you that are really successful, making a lot of money? Well, Sarah over there, she's just, I don't know who she thinks she is. She's making a lot of money. Praise them. Good for her. Good for her that she can do that. When you put the law of praise on other people and other things and situations, it's going to multiply within you. When you curse somebody like, I don't know who that they think they are, it's you might as well write them a check, because you are depleting your own energy.
and if you recognize from modality standpoint, we're all one. If you're giving them praise, you're giving yourself praise, and if you're sending negativity, it's a ripple effect.
Yep.
Because you are doing it to yourself. Another aspect happened. Oh, I got to get a different chair for over here.
Sorry.
Oh,
I'm waiting for you to fall off
no,
so I can
no,
laugh.
it's not gonna. I'm not gonna fall off. It's not like that. I mean, it's a huge ottoman, and just the. Well, I guess that comment's gonna come up. Where it said, effortless effort is the key to true success and happiness. Yeah, because it shouldn't
Yeah.
be. It shouldn't be effort. we say in the tradition I practice that everything is wilka pukliai, sacred play. And if it's not play, if you have to work hard, then there's something not quite firing correctly, because this is all sacred play that we're in. And it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard.
Doesn't. And I've learned that time and time again. Every time I try to will something into existence, which I'm very good at, and it does work, but it's very tiring. So when you're able to just let go and keep visualizing and keep putting good energy on it and just letting go and not squeezing the sponge, time and time again, it has come a whole lot faster. It works every time. And I know when I push too hard, all kinds of things come up as roadblocks. So, yeah, over potentializing. Looking in another thing that works against the law of praise and increase, looking in the mirror and criticizing yourself. When you're criticizing yourself, you're criticizing God. And again, your health won't be good, your wealth won't be good, your prosperity won't be good, your love, that's going to affect all those things as well.
A great question to ask if you're in a place of judgment about anything. It's an access tool. You ask, what's right about this I'm not getting? And it starts to take the blame of it being wrong and looking for how it could be a contribution. It really, like in astrology, there's skilled and unskilled applications of energies. Whatever you're judging yourself for is a potency that you've just mislabeled or misidentified and are misusing, that if you just shift it a little bit, it could have a whole different skilled application. So look at every judgment as an opportunity for possibility.
Absolutely. And this ties into criticizing other people.
Oh, look, great
Hands
segue.
down. Yeah, judging other people, judging or criticizing other people in any way, shape, or form will repel your health, wealth, prosperity, and love. Hands down, it will. We got to get a handle on that because there's so much of that going on right now. I'm even like, yesterday, DeWine post, or, he's positive for COVID. I'm like, okay, where do I go with this? My friends are like, this is karma in perfect action. I'm like, yep, it
But
probably is.
he now tested negative, though, so
I
who
know,
knows?
right?
It could
Right.
be false positives.
Fascinating. So either his tests don't work or his mask doesn't work or somebody rigged it. But you want to keep that in check. Observation is good, and gentle judgments. I don't know, maybe you can help with this thing, because there's a judgment that's an intellectual observation versus a negative judgment. It's a tricky
Yeah, well,
thing to explain.
it's so in true observation, think of it with true observation, it is just events that you're looking at without any filters. And the only thing that you look at, if you think something's good or bad, it's because we are aligning and agreeing with or resisting or reacting to a collective idea that there's something good or bad in the world. But it's just raw data. And if you can look at everything as raw data, then the question then for anything is, who do I choose to be in creationship, not relationship to that, and go based on there, because you're not labeling it as good or bad. It just gives you an open slate to use it to propel your declaration of who you're choosing to be versus labeling it as right or wrong. But it's a process, and sometimes it's really easy in certain areas to be the observer, and in other areas we get drawn in, especially if you have a personal experience with something. But the tool and access for it would be interesting point of view. If you can look at everything, if you feel a charge on it, interesting point of view, and and you're just acknowledging then that it's not a judgment. This is just a certain way of looking at something through filters, and that's a very interesting point of view. And good point of views stick you worse than the bad point of views, because bad points of views will actually look to change, but a good point of view, like, I have enough. If you have that, if you're settling, the universe can bring you infinite possibilities. But if you have the idea that, it's not enough, there's people who require this more than me and all that, well, one, you're recognizing that there's scarcity then instead of infinite abundance, and two, you're cutting off how much you're willing to receive from the universe. Just one example how a good point of view, you might not even recognize that one.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Criticizing other people. Speak or think poorly about your finances or your business. That will repel, or your health. Anything you speak poorly about, or you wallow in your woes, this will decrease your health,
Yeah.
wealth, and prosperity and love as well.
No pity parties. And
Pity parties.
and Mark, the tips for making all these habit forming is practice, 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 and focus on one tool at a time. So if you were to write down all the tools we talked about today and see which one feels lightest, go based on feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. And which one, if you asked a question, which one of these, if I apply it for the next 3 days, is going to create the greatest change in my life? Go based on that and then pick that tool, and then at the end of the 3 days pick another tool and use it. Or if maybe if you feel you need more time, but just pick one, use it until it's second nature, and then you move on to the next one. And as you start doing that, it almost becomes automatic that you're just naturally in that flow where you're not going into the negative.
Yeah. So this is probably even needs a part two because there's a lot to teach on prosperity is a course in and of itself.
We could probably teach on this talk on this topic for the whole year. Just keep going.
But yeah, another tool is the world is a mirror and it reflects your relationship to it. When you are not unhappy with the world, it shows you are unhappy. It shows you unhappy. Oh, I'm going to read this again. The world is a mirror and it reflects your relationship to it. When you are unhappy with the world, it shows you unhappy events and you struggle. That's
energy flows where your attention goes.
So that is the biggest key. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Practice, practice, practice. Keep focusing your mind on a good mantra. Look at the abundance. Always bring your mind back. Nope, not going to the I want. Look at the world around you. The trees, you cut down a tree, another one grows. You cut down your grass, more grows. There's abundance all around you. Do you have your $10 million in your bank account right now? No. But are you going to get it? It's very possible. If you keep on this path and you keep putting the intention out and being patient, allowing the universe to bring that to you, you are totally deserving of it. You don't have to work hard for it. And, getting some mantras. There's a great book we didn't get to, but it's called Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Berend. It looks like that, but I was going to try to get some tools out of here for you too, and maybe we'll do a part two, but it really, there's so much. The best there is mine. There is no limit to me because my mind is the center of divine operation. And I think that's what we really have to get a grip on. And your picture is certain to come true in your physical world as the sun is to shine. So when you start programming your mind with these things and understanding that you can attract all these things and you can shift all of these things, you can. But the mental piece has to be there. And this is why when I work with my clients, the first thing I do is start clearing out some of this energy. I don't dive into supplements first thing because I can give you all the supplements in the world. I can run all the biofeedback in the world and it's great. But if you keep counteracting it with, like the one client I have just constantly counteracts with something, and I'm like, if you keep counteracting with the negative, then it's going to be very challenging and it's going to be a much slower process to get to your destination. Let's not do that. Let's clean all the energy up, get you new mantras, get you in a different space, and then get on the physical.
Yeah, and the thing with a lot of times people have resistance to things because the big boulders, their ego is freaking out. It doesn't want to deal with it. And ego, of course, because I'm an acronym nerd, is edging God out.
And the ego wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you safe.
And when you're looking at anything as negative, that is the one and true devil. That's my acronym for Satan, seeing anything as negative.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good acronym. So yeah, the ego will keep pulling you back. And that's why this is a process, because we unfortunately have the ego and we have to gain control of the ego. People can get, and it's happened to me multiple times. You go, you feel you're on a different level. I'm rocking and rolling it. I'm attracting stuff. And then you reach some level, which I call an upper limiter. And there's a whole book on upper limiters where you're like, nope, no, that's scary. I'm going to come right back down here. And then you don't break through that ceiling. It creates a ceiling effect. So be aware of that happens too. And so there has to maybe be a part two to this, because there's a lot to talk about with this topic.
Absolutely. And if you go back, if you see this picture on the YouTube channel, that didn't work how I want, but it's the power of words. That's a lot of what we're talking about, that is a great, because your word choice impacts so much of what's going on. And then the other thing, because I know I can't believe we've been streaming for an hour already.
Yeah. I'm like, oh,
wow.
A little beyond.
But we wanted to talk about the clinic, so we want to give a little bit of that, and we'll make a part two for next week for sure. And then there's going to be a couple, I'm not sure which Fridays, but I'm going to be traveling in West Virginia, and depending on how it goes, I might be able to stream from where I'm at. It will depend on internet. So if we're not going to stream, though, we'll try to give you a heads up. But the energy clinic, it's going to be August 17th 17th. Am I right? I
Yep,
think it's
that's
right.
Monday,
Yeah,
Monday, August
Monday,
17th.
August 17th. And you can go to, it's not on the website yet, but at the very beginning of the stream, if you click the link, it takes you to the Facebook group, and then there's a little Acuity scheduler. That's the scheduling software we use. You just click that, you can reserve your time slot, and then we're not 100% sure how it will work, but my goal, my target would be that every person would get a couple minutes with Dr. K, a couple minutes with me to work on. I'll process, or I'll do some sound therapy. Everybody might be a little different though, but it's a great opportunity to just get a 15 to 20-minute energetic tune-up with using a couple different tools that we're familiar with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's going to be really helpful, especially for people that just really stressed right now. I mean, a lot of people are really, really meant to, there's a lot of noise in our heads right now, a lot of noise. And when we have a lot of noise, that's another thing that will, preclude you to attracting what you want to attract because you can't, it's harder to focus on that thing that you desire.
yeah, and this will be the first of many. And we may even, because I'm sure that everybody watching, not everybody is local. So
Right.
I'm sure we can come up with
With
some
a
sort of
virtual.
virtual, yeah, you already were going where I was
Mhm.
going, with a virtual clinic using Zoom or Google Meet or something like that, where we can have a little bit. I think those will probably be more coaching type session based, obviously, since well, sound works, so over distance. We'll
My
see.
stuff works virtually.
Yeah,
I've done many clients. I clean you just like I did when we did our virtual session. We do
yeah,
the paramedis, we clean. It works just as well. I've done tons of clients
cool.
in other states.
And if you're catching us midway through and you're going to go back and watch the whole video, there's a link everywhere for the YouTube video. If you watch there, it just kind of helps our distribution out to more people through Google or whatnot. If you're going to watch on Facebook, if you don't mind starting a watch party, that always helps to get the word out as well. So as you're watching, other people might join you. Oh, there's somebody in my backyard. That's interesting. I'm looking out, I see the reflection in the window. I'm like, what are they doing?
They got attracted to our conversation. They want to know.
Oh, they're working on my little robot mower, and it's just weird.
It's a weird day today, isn't it?
It is. And normally I don't have the window open, but it was kind of dark in here, so I opened that, and so now, of course, I'm seeing like everything going off in the corner of my eye. Uh,
So yeah, what we can do to wrap things up. I know I had other goals, but this is just such a big, juicy topic that maybe we'll need to do a little bit of a part two. But I think the best place to start is number one, start monitoring where your thoughts are going. Catch yourself saying or criticizing others. Catch yourself criticizing yourself. Start catching yourself with these things. This is the first place to start shifting. When
yep,
you start catching yourself and making and going, oh, not going there. Okay, oh, I just criticized so and so. You will be shocked how many times in a day you do this. I'm guilty
yep,
of it too. I monitor more now because I've gotten very accustomed to it, but it happens so much. Criticizing self, criticizing others, talking badly about I don't have the money, can't do it, don't have the money. Watch these things because you are pushing away your health. I am so sick. I am so tired. I just feel like SHIT. Watch.
spiritual human in transition.
Yeah.
Acronym nerd. It's true, and I'm very okay
That's a
with that.
good one. That is such a good one.
I have to
Um,
thank Patty Conklin for that one. It's a great acronym.
yeah.
Uh,
So if there's anything you want to contribute to help people make these shifts.
uh, there's a whole bunch of other tools, but I'll start next time. We'll give a cliffhanger. I'll start next time with how to focus on, as you are bringing money in, a little shift in how you do things to exponentially start creating more abundance through financial stability coming to you. So I'll save that for next time.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger,
I
cliffhanger.
think that would be great. Maybe we need to do a part three. The abundance thing it's a big, people love to hear about it because money's an energy and money's a great energy to provide freedom. We do, require money to function in this universe. And it is a grand, grand energy. But if you don't know how to work with it and you don't know how to call it in and you push it away, then we get frustrated and we get into a struggle and it's not coming. And then that starts affecting our health. Our health is, these things are all interconnected. They really are.
Yeah, and we could also incorporate Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like we have a tendency, if any of those bottom things are off, it really exponentially impacts your ability to do like the self-actualizing type of things. So all that's related. But we could keep on talking for like hours, but we
Right.
probably should wrap
And
up.
self-actualization is, how do we describe self-actualization? A self-actualized soul. Um,
So operating out of full consciousness,
yeah,
like, or more and more, it's a process of becoming more and more aware and conscious. Uh, I guess is my interpretation of it.
yeah,
And it
to
is
put it
progress, not
It
perfection.
is progress, and there's very few souls on the planet that are self-actualized. I think I sent you that link, Hank, to Swami Parthasarathy. He's from India. He is a self-actualized soul, meaning these folks operate from a level where, what's the best way? Things don't bother them. They don't worry about money. They don't have the worry. It's like they're just in this state where they see God in everything, and everything is God, and they are, things just don't affect them.
Yeah.
They don't get an attachment. They
Even on
don't.
their deathbed in pain from cancer, they're still in this place
Yep.
of peace, calm,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's really because you recognize everything is just an experience that you can label however you choose.
Exactly.
You can label it all as perfection.
And so this is where the work begins. If you want to get to that state, guys, this is working with us and working with people that we get closer and closer and closer to that state. There's very few people on the planet that are able to do that, because we are in attachment to other things. But he is 90, he's 93 and still traveling across the world. And they throw cars at him, they throw money at him, banks just, but he because he's not attached, things don't agitate. He's not in agitation. When a mind in agitation lowers your frequency, and when you're in agitation of any sort in your mind, whether that's health, wealth, money, love, you're going to repel those things. So the goal is to help all of you get into less and less and less agitation, and to get into a quieter, more peaceful space. And from that space, you can attract anything you want better,
Absolutely.
in a better way.
And to always end on our comedic note, we have good old Mark, and he's just saying, thank you for the amazing info. And he is willing to fill in as a guest or host or run the entire show by himself if he needs to.
That'd be great. I was almost going to suggest that today. He had such wonderful lines. We should invite him in.
Yeah, we could.
He's really catching on fast.
Yeah. But just you're not allowed to drink all those things that you talk about on
Yeah, I
air.
can't
Yeah.
have you, Mark, because you're not the epitome of health over there.
No,
I hope you're not drinking all that stuff. Good Lord.
no, I'm
I'm
sure he's
shy.
not. Other than
Maybe
the
he,
chocolate milk, maybe he is drinking that, but
but maybe he is a self-actualized soul. If he drank all that, what did he do? Whiskey or something? And he's still here and
mouthwash,
wow.
tap water. I forget. It was all kinds of crazy things. But seriously, thank you for your contributions. There are always wonderful to help drive the conversation, and having the interaction just adds to the show. Everybody's a contribution. It's not our show. It's our show, really. It's not me and Dr. K show. I mean, it's our show.
It's
And he wants
for
to
all
talk
of
about
you.
bubble gum.
Okay. Hubba,
Bubble gum.
remember Hubba Bubba and Bubblicious? And what did I grow up with that my mom would never let me have?
Bazooka. The one with
Bazooka.
there was a real hard gum that I had like little comics with it. I think it was called
Yeah,
Bazooka.
Bazooka. Yes, and it was in a bag.
Yeah, like a big bag with these little wrapped
Yes.
gums. Yep.
And remember
Yep.
Juicy Fruit? That ran out of flavor really fast. I hated that gum.
Well, there's a whole thing we can talk about cinnamon gum from Dr. Dane, but we'll save it for next time because
Okay.
this might be a 5-part series. We'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for everybody's contributions. We will be on next week, and then the week after that, we'll have to see based on where I'm going to be at and if there is internet.
We
So,
will figure it out.
yep. But until
All right,
then, next time,
everyone.
have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.